Okay, welcome back YouTube. Today is push. You've not actually seen this push session of mine. I think that you've seen Cuba do this push session. Can't say push session. So today's session is starting with DY raise. We're going to move on to the two Atlantis presses that we've got here, an incline and then a shoulder press. Cuba may stop playing the music so that you can actually hear me talk in a moment, but he may not. And then we're going to move on to some other isolation movements with kind of side cable lateral raises, prime side lateral raises on the machine, and some push downs as well. Really looking forward to getting stuck into the session. I'm not too sure on what my numbers will be. They'll probably be a little bit less than the last time I did this session because I haven't trained push for a week from being on my deload that I ran. So probably reset my numbers, make sure that everything's feeling really good before starting to obviously progress with weight again. So that is what we shall do. Going to go for a wee and then we'll get ready to go. Nearly didn't get that one. So the reason why we do some lat work prior to obviously starting push sessions, if you think about it, obviously you're not using your lats when you press. You're obviously aiming to use your top line musculature depending on what bias it is that you're trying to do, chest, delts, etc. One of the main muscles that you use to stabilize when you are doing your presses is your lats. So getting them firing prior to a session has actually enabled me to be able to develop my presses a little bit more, plus taking away a large chunk of the mobility stuff that we used to do, which was obviously pre-fatiguing. Obviously, we still do an element of some that gets our body firing, but the most important thing is just warming up effectively, and this has been a real integral part to our push days. So perhaps try it for yourself, see how you get on with it. Your mobility work can definitely be put in a different place away from your training, just to make sure that it's separate and you're not fatiguing yourself too much, because obviously they're very different parts, but they're both very important to have a real focus on. So I normally have a little bit of a topic for my sessions. Today's session topic is going to be progress. So progress within bodybuilding comes in many forms, whether that be in a gym, something to do with your meals, to do with your physique, to do with your level of condition, to do with your mindset. We're going to cover all of them in detail, just to obviously try and help you pull out the progress from each part to hopefully help that end look and beyond look better. buddy Nora. One of the most integral parts of bodybuilding when making progress is obviously in the gym. But when it comes to being in a competition prep, nobody cares how much you can lift. So when you are in a competition prep, your goal is to get lean. Your performance doesn't want to be sacrificed for the most part, but towards the back end of your prep, it will be a little. So you do have to accept that, because the level of condition is more important than what you can lift. Up until kind of, if you're doing a proper prep, 20 to 24 weeks, especially as someone that's not at the top of the game, you will find at that like 6-7 weeks out mark that things may start to decline a little. But you've got volume application to be able to play around with a little, but that is the most important thing, to be able to make the progress that you need to in your prep. I bet that was a good face, wasn't it? So bloody Nora, I'm too old. That feels nice today. Lovely stuff. Progress with your physique will take a time, especially if you're not kind of the 1% genetic elite. It will take time to get where you want to be. There is no point in rushing the process, trying to push lots of foods in your off season way too quick, trying to diet really quickly and do a really quick prep because you're enjoying the progress that's coming. It's not going to lead to a really good long-term result. You have to take your time. That also means that you can't think that doing lots of PEDs, rushing the assistance side of things is going to end and equate in a really great look as well, because it will not, especially as a female. You have to take your time, you have to build things up really slowly, and you'll get to where you want to be. On to my second exercise. I've got the ATLANTIS incline press. This is obviously a little bit more biased towards my front delt, upper pec in general. It's my only real chesticle exercise in my programming. I have some flat presses, but they're a little bit more biased towards my triceps because they're a neutral grip / narrow grip, so there's not really much chest, but there is a little bit. Anyway, I was obviously building my strength quite a lot on this. I've had my deload. I'm also not currently on assistance, so I'm just going to take a little bit of a regression and aim to build it back up, because my reps did get a little bit rushed, and leading on my warm-ups right now, I definitely know that I couldn't do that weight, so I'm going to take a little bit of a regression and then build it back up again. Oh, that felt wonderful. That felt nice and deep, nice and controlled. Felt fantastic. Definitely didn't feel like that before, but it felt like I was a little fish on the ground. Oh, that was good. It's a good set. So onto my third exercise, which is just another variation of a press by ATLANTIS, which is fantastic. So this is the shoulder press. I always use a neutral grip because, not due to the fact that I think that either handle is better than the other, but for me personally, I have a lot of shoulder and elbow joint issues because of my previous sport. So anything that I can do to help save my elbows and my shoulders, then fantastic. Even if I put myself into the position for the other handles, it just hurts a lot. It just takes a lot of strain into my old issues that I've had into my shoulders. So that is why I use a neutral grip. Always choose things and have a coach who can help you choose things that's based upon your individual needs. Not everybody can do the same things, pressing the same way, pulling the same way, etc. Always make sure that if you do need adjustments, to make sure that you can do training and progress it and feel good for it, make sure that you obviously make the adjustments. I spent years doing exercises and movements that just weren't either fit for me, or I was doing them in a way that just didn't fit very well for my biomechanics. Now that we've got it sorted and settled and doing it in a way that actually feels really good, I've actually been able to make way more progress strength-wise and obviously visually and all round in the gym and bodybuilding. I expected that to feel a lot heavier. Food is definitely an area that you can make progress with. I think when you first start bodybuilding, some of the things that you have in your mind about nutrition probably aren't quite so true. I remember I used to think that I used to have white fish and other things that I didn't really enjoy because that was the only thing that I could have. When obviously there's so many protein sources that would give you the same amount of macros and needs that I would have got from a piece of cod, from many different things. So making progress with your own nutritional mind or through having a coach that obviously helps you create that knowledge is so important, because I think the better knowledge you can get it, the more sensible you can be when you are away from your plan. The better and more consistent that you can actually stay within your nutrition plan, the more progress you're going to be able to make, because you're not going to be eating awful quality foods away from your food plan. You're going to be able to build upon your normal base plan a lot more, because body composition, body fat, body weight isn't going to be drifting up too high from having all these additional things that you probably shouldn't be having because you don't actually know that you shouldn't be having them. Got a bit of a nervous belly doing this, don't know why. Gonna attack it like a motherfucker, that's what I'm gonna do. Rah! Oh, what a bastard. Oh,
you enjoyed that last one.
Pressing, talk about it a lot, but I'm going to talk about it again because I see it happen so often. Do not protract your shoulders when you straighten your arms. That means do not allow for your shoulders to come away from the bench pad when you're at the top. It's the most important part in getting your muscles short. So if you actually do that, you never do. You're just basically relaxing them. So you need to make sure that you keep your shoulders into the pad and straighten the arms. You get the muscles short, you keep tension on, and then you go again. It's harder, but it's worth it. If you make something harder in bodybuilding, it's because you're doing it right. Sorry, in weight training, you're doing it right, which will help you build more muscle. Do things right, get strong with it, you'll build some actual muscle tissue. Oh, what a bastard. Oh. There's a PB? 2 PBs? We'll see, because it was my second press. Normally, if you're pressing and the order of your presses change, so say I was doing this one after my first exercise or vice versa, don't expect your reps or perhaps even weight to be the same on the second exercise because obviously you're a little bit pre-fatigued. For me, this used to be my first exercise and I'm now doing more weight on it as my second exercise than before when I was doing it in my first exercise. So that is lots of progression. Like, I'm not saying that I could do 3 plates if it was my first exercise, but that's a lot of progress, especially when I am already fatigued. I'm short, but someone really short must have been on this one because it was even too little for me. The machine dip. So I want to allow my front delt to work a little. So I actually keep a little bit of a tilt of my chest over my hips. I'm not completely leaning forwards because that just makes it ridiculously easy, but a slight tilt over, keeping my core nice and tight. When I allow for my elbows to break, I focus on them driving back and out towards the side. If they go straight back, only someone with ridiculous mobility could probably get the right depth with it without really hurting their elbows. For the most and the masses of us that are not the gods of the mobility, we have to make sure that our elbows drive out and back so that we can get full range of motion before a nice little pause and then driving back down. Again here, like what we just said on the presses, do not allow for your shoulders to protract away from the body as you bring them down. Focus on keeping your shoulder into its joint and just fully straightening the arms before going straight back into that next rep. Oh, bloody Nora. Another thing that people do on this a common mistake, is that they allow their like hips to come up and down and they're like bouncing around. That creates a lot of momentum. You don't want to use momentum. Momentum's a killer of gains because it's doing it for you. You're not doing it. So make sure that you stay locked in, get to work with your arms. Oh, that's how I feel after that. Got a real pump in my shoulders. On the machine side lateral, very much like the cables, the dumbbells, anything, you always need to make sure that your upper arm stays slightly to the front of your body. If you pull them behind or have them really at the side of your body, you do take a lot into your traps. You want to eliminate it as much as possible by keeping your shoulders down, not depressed because you want your scapula to work, but not allowing the shoulders to push up, keeping them in a nice neutral position into your body, and then just keeping that upper arm to the front of your body so that you can really get to work on your side delt. Log booking is obviously a great way to track progress when it comes to your training. Obviously, if you don't log book, fair enough. If you do log book, this may be useful for you. Obviously, there's lots of log books that you can buy, but you actually find that you have to go sheet to sheet to sheet, and then throughout your session, you're trying to flick back a few pages to get to your previous sessions. Whereas obviously, you can write it in just a normal lined kind of book like this. So what I do is I write my exercises, my sets, all down the left-hand side. I then have a few columns for different weeks. I then state what weight and how many reps I got 1 week, and then the next week, and then the next week. And it's just a really quick way to be able to feedback on what I got last week, see what I got this week. If it's a nice progression, epic. And sometimes I like to note in there whether it was a great progression because of something like form was better, tempo was better, etc. It's not always about just weights and loads. You obviously have the ability to be able to be a little bit literate and write on here as well. That's watermelon MPS, honestly, it tastes divine. I'm not even kidding, I'm not a product pusher. Meg 10 though. But honestly, it tastes absolutely delicious. See, I did these last time and they felt really hard, and that feels really easy. Oh, what a bastard. I'm gonna have to go and take my jumper off because I'm too warm. I'm too warm. Tingly fingers. In the off season, when it comes to progress, can't always just focus on the visuals because the visual look each week, is it gonna really make a lot of jumps? Probably not really. And when you tend to, at the end of off season, carry a little bit more body fat, you actually tend to look a little bit smaller and worse when actually you will have built some good muscle tissue if you have obviously done a good structured off season. But a really great kind of way to track progress in your off season, have some real focal points and focus points, is in the gym, whether that be focusing on strength progression or getting your movements perfect. I think it's a really great way to know that obviously you're making improvements in that, which strength work done well will equate to some good muscle mass progressions as well. I'm gonna embarrass myself by not being able to push it down. Oh, that's really easy. That is the end to my push session. When it comes to making progress, I think lots of people track their progress based upon their successes when it comes to whether they've won their competition or not. And we can't always focus on that because as much as we all go in to win, we all go in that with that winning mentality to make sure that obviously we bring our absolute best. Not every person in that competition can be a winner, but you've got to be able to take a win from each thing that you do so that you can actually know that you've done a great job. I think if you can't take a win from something, you've done something wrong. But it's always good to also have goals to be able to push towards as well, to be better, to get better, but also good to be able to be happy with the things that you've achieved, whether that be a first placing or whether that be something else along the way. Anyway, the session wrapped up, feeling nice and pumped, or as pumped as I'm going to get at this point. Very much just into the depths of off season, nearing closer to the first maintenance / mini diet phase, and I'm really excited for it. See where body is looking. Look forward to the second push of off season because then it's so close to starting prep. I will start prep at the end of this year and I'm really excited for it. Shows are already picked for 2024 and my eyes are very much set on making sure that it's a good year. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Anything that you'd like to see, please drop it in the comments below.